Welcome into the Big Chief Show. I'm your host, Fred Davis, alongside special guest today, the one, the only 10-year NFL veteran, 3-time Super Bowl winner, and for my money, pound for pound, I said this years ago. I told Ted this. He thought I was crazy, and I stand by it even after all these years. The best at breaking down football, bar none. I don't care. NFL Network, ESPN, any random independent network. Give me Teddy J. I'll take him all day, every day. Ted, how the hell are you?
Freddie, I'm good. That is quite the introduction, my man. I hear you say it now. I shake my head, but you've always said that to me. You're a good friend. It is great to be on with you, my man, and I'm looking forward to talking some ball with you, bud. Your Chiefs, wow. It's amazing what they've done. I'm looking forward to getting into what they've been able to accomplish.
We'll talk about the Chiefs, and you're right, man, because when you and I were doing radio a decade ago, incidentally, it was look, the Chiefs were coming off a situation where a player killed his baby mama and then killed himself in the parking lot in front of the coach and the GM. Like, we're a decade removed from that. I mean, if we want to talk about how crazy it was with Aaron Hernandez and the Patriots, let's not forget the Chiefs got a little fucking crazy themselves a decade ago.
That was, I'll never forget. It's crazy. Some of the days I've worked radio, Freddie, and I've worked radio the day that Kobe passed, in the helicopter crash. I was on that day. I was on the day that Bob Kraft got caught down in South Florida at a place that maybe you shouldn't have been. Right? I was on that day, and then I was on the day that Javon Belcher did what you just described in the parking lot of the parking lot of the Kansas City Chiefs. There.
Don't forget, we were also on the day of the Boston Marathon bombing too.
You know what? That's right. That's right. So a lot of these historic things, but you're right. Where the Chiefs are at that point, and that was my old defensive coordinator, Romeo Cornell, was the head coach at that time. Scott Pioli in the front office, and now look how far the Chiefs have come from those days. It's incredible. Obviously it all started with the hiring of one Andy Reid, and then the drafting of one Patrick Mahomes. That's where it all started. But you're right. Your franchise has come a long way, bud.
All right. So, we'll get to the Chiefs here in just a second, but obviously the franchise. And look, Ted, it's crazy because, again, the Patriots dominated for 20 years, and you would think that, all right, maybe we'll have a year or 2 or 3 where, there's some parity in the NFL and everything's up for grabs. And no, literally, the Patriots win in 2018, and then literally the very next year, the Chiefs are right back in it, and here we are. And it was almost like a baton handoff from Brady to Mahomes, because that's exactly what it's been. But now we look at a situation where, your boy Bill didn't finish his Patriot career quite like I think people expected him to. I'm in the minority in that we'll get to it in a second. How surprised are you that A, he's being shut out, and then B, kind of the slander he's been catching? This is Bill Belichick after all.
Yeah. It's look, right. I'm going to look at it a little bit differently, and it is funny. Okay. Like, people from the outside, and let's face it. I mean, you're not here covering the team every day. You're not reading up what's going on. So, but your impression of Bill is probably like the majority of people outside of New England, which is, this guy can do no wrong. I mean, why are the Patriots letting him go? He's the best all time. But what you haven't seen is the last 4 years of football without Tom Brady. What the operations look like, how the drafting has gone, some of the coaching decisions that have been made, some of the behavior on the team out of guys that you have never seen when Tom Brady was here. It looked like a completely different operation. And everything that we knew about the Patriots when Tom Brady was the quarterback, Fred, all the kind of methodologies and all of the all these kind of myths and ideologies about how the Patriots won with sacrifice and versatility and guys taking less money and great coaching and great development, on and on and on. All those myths and and kind of theories that what made the Patriots so good for so long were all debunked, because it feels as if to a lot of people that Tom Brady was the key to the entire thing. That you take him out of the equation and the Patriot way falls flat on its face, and it really has killed Bill Belichick's I say legacy, reputation up here. Some of the unbelievable, head scratching decisions that he has made since Tom Brady has left is insane. And then just a couple off the top of the head is making his defensive coordinator and special teams coach offensive coordinators in Mac Jones' second year after he just had a Pro Bowl season, basically ruined the kid, was number one. I mean, people would put actually letting Tom Brady go as the number one, and that's probably true. Not making a serious offer to Tom, thus pushing him out, was Bill's biggest mistake, and it clearly was. But after that, I mean, ruining really Mac Jones. The team has really it's been so defensive heavy, focused. All the attention and the resources have gone to the defense. He's really neglected what the offense is. Bill just really, for a long time, Freddie, hasn't had a sense of really how the modern day offense works at all. His inability to communicate with players has really been bad. His special teams, he puts more money. Nobody spends more money on special teams than Bill Belichick and the Patriots. There's more coaches, more resources on that part of the game, and they're one of the worst special teams in the NFL.
I was say their kicker was terrible this year.
Oh, it's terrible. His in-game management, clock management has been really questionable the last several years. So my point is, and if you look at the kind of how the program is structured, the franchise is constructed, it's a lot of nepotism. His sons, friends, a lot of connections that people that are in the front office and in the coaching staff. Both of his sons are working here. People that are in the front office have been with him forever. There's not new, fresh ideas coming in. The point is, it's if you really kind of look at what's been going on here just in the last 4 years, you would hesitate too if you were an owner before you would hire Bill Belichick, because the preceding 20 years, unbelievable run. But what's happened here the last 4 years after Tom Brady left is really kind of been a huge black mark on Bill's legacy.
And that's fascinating, Ted. And I guess my question is that what I mean, was it him trying to go out of his way to prove, like, did he take it that personally that he was going to prove that he could be successful without Tom Brady?
That's his Achilles heel. Freddie is his hubris. It's his hubris. His ego is so big. It's so big. And he will tell you that it is about the players. But if you know Bill Belichick, really know Bill Belichick, he really thinks it's about him, and it's the coaching that really is what makes the difference. And that's been his biggest downfall, is his pride, his hubris. He wanted to do it without Tom Brady, and he got exactly what he wanted, and it's blown up in his face. The narrative has changed on him, and I think he just didn't see it coming. And I don't know how you don't see that coming. He just never gave Tom his due, man.
I'll tell you, okay, two things. One, why he never gave Tom his due, like you said, is but it probably does, and look, you and I are both in that, that one world where, ego is not your amigo. I know you've heard that before. And then on top of that, the thing that, to your point, that really blows my mind, and I think this, there's always that tipping point, right? Where when things, like when a civilization's about to collapse, there's always that one moment. And to me, that moment was when he decided he was going to take Joe Judge, a reject from the Giants, and then you took Matt Patricia, who, again, as we've seen, his coaching tree has been abysmal, and you take Mac Jones, who I like. I think Mac Jones can be a serviceable quarterback. I really, really do. I've fought with plenty of people here on air about Mac Jones, but to me, that was when things really went into overdrive as far as, okay, he just didn't give a shit.
And there's no question about it. That was, a lot of people would say that if Bill Belichick didn't have the resume he had, Fred, he would have been fired after last year. Like, what he did was coaching malpractice.
Yes.
Putting those two guys in charge of an offense, and it wasn't just any offense. It was like the Kyle Shanahan offense, which look, it might be made for quarterbacks and paint by numbers, but there's a lot of nuance to it, and it's offensive line has to be in sync with the wide receivers. They have to be in sync with the running backs, and so you need competent coaches that have coached that system for a long time to implement it. These guys have never coached offense, let alone a completely new system that they've never ever been around. They've always been under the the old Brady kind of Don Coryell offense for so many years. So it was you're absolutely right. If you want to look at kind of where it all went wrong, post Tom Brady, that was the decision that really did Bill in. It's kind of like, what is he thinking? And you know what? When you get rid of those guys and you bring in what you think is a competent offensive coordinator and Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien's a joke.
Thinking that was going to fix it. And then you go, you're worse? You have a worse offense than you did with those guys.
You've been better off bringing in Tim Kelly, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah. No, it was – that coming here did not help Bill O'Brien's certainly his reputation one bit. I don't blame him for going back to college and kind of just staying under the radar and probably doing
here's my question for you, outside of the fact of his name recognition, but how does he keep getting jobs? Like, that's what I mean. If Ohio State's over here, and look, as you know, Ohio State's loaded up. Okay, if anybody college football wise, I don't know what the futures bet is right now, but how does anybody not named Ohio State win the national championship next year?
Yeah, I know.
Are you serious right now? By the way, okay, hold on. We got me. We got to digress for a second. Where are we at right now with Colorado recruiting? And better yet, why has Prime not reached out to one of the best linebackers in Colorado history, or has he?
Oh, he did. He asked me to come out when they had an event that Cordell Stewart was the MC for any former Colorado buffs that had played in the NFL. And that was right before the spring game. I didn't get out to it. I wanted to, but he was nice enough to extend me an invitation, and I couldn't get out there. But I'm thrilled about our program. I mean, are you kidding me? People were talking about Colorado football for the first time in 20 years, Fred. Now, there was the sugar high came, boy. It came, and then they crashed. That Stanford game, that was a killer. I mean, we're up 30 points at halftime, and we think we got it in the bag. And then that was when the losing started. Look, what I saw at Colorado the first 4 games, beating TCU like they did, and you and I were texting back and forth. Look, I don't know, like there's a part of me that the Shedeur Sanders, man, and early in the season looked unbelievable.
I thought he looked better than Caleb Williams.
That's right. We were talking about that. And then of course, the offensive line did this thing, and then he just got beat up. So look, I guess what I want to say is that I'm happy where our program is. People are talking about us for the first time. I legit have parents in Boston asking me if I know anybody in admissions because, dude, Colorado, hell, we let everybody in when I was there. 70% acceptance rate. It was the easiest school in the world to get into. Now everybody wants to go to Colorado because of the profile's been raised by Dion. Only winning 4 games. I mean, yeah, we crashed and burned, but it sounds like he's basically recruiting a whole new team through the transfer portal in 2 years. We'll see. I don't know.
I'll say this about Prime, right? And look. It was kind of crazy how that, like you said, and look, all of a sudden, and then Pat Shurmur takes over play calling at the end. You kind of had the exodus of coaches there at the end. So, it's a little bit different beast. I'll be curious to see because, look, now you got to come to Lawrence, okay? I'm just saying, take the Pac-12, my friend, okay? Wow. Now you got to come to Lawrence. Wow. And look, hey, say what you want about, and my hat's off to what Prime Time's doing, but let's put a little respect on what Lance Leipold is doing at the University of Kansas. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, June Henley isn't walking through that door anymore, man. Is that right? June Henley? Did I get it right? Oh my God. Hey,
Chip Hillary is walking through that.
Is that what I'm talking about? Hey, but KU, man, good for them, man. Honestly, Lawrence is one of the prettiest freaking campuses that you'll ever step on, man. And so I like the KU's getting some play and getting some national run.
I said this when they finally, because they also gave him. I mean, they've given him 2 contract extensions 2 years in a row. But I firmly believe, look, the Big 12's wide open now that Oklahoma and Texas are gone. I mean, it's the Wild West in the Big 12. And I mean, look, Arizona, okay. All right. I mean, Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy's going to spit the bit, 7, 8 games into the year. Okay. So, I mean, look, I'll tell you what, and I mean this with and this may offend some KU people. Lance Leipold winning a title at KU in football would be bigger than any basketball title.
Wow. Really? Yeah.
I mean, you don't think so?
No. It would be the upset of the century. I'm just saying, like, but with KU fans, they're not as invested, obviously, in the football team.
They are now, dude. You realize they're tearing down the entire stadium. Like they said, renovation. So I thought they were just going to add some shit. No, they tore down.
Okay.
KU. They're pouring.
KU's profile. I mean, even its own fans everyone's buying into what they're doing.
Look, man. I've said this for years. When we're good at football, KU will support us, right? Like the fans, because I mean, come on, you got 10 weeks, 11 weeks, right? And it's the perfect segue. I mean, think about it. Don't you want to have, think about it. Really, you'd almost argue when you have a good football and a good basketball program, almost your entire school year is sports.
That's utopia.
That's it.
Utopia. That's what's. I mean, you kidding me? Who doesn't want to go to a school that has a relevant basketball team and a relevant football team? That's for a college student and that goes to a Power 5 conference school. That's about as good as it gets for a program.
Why do you think? And I mean, and obviously the obvious answer is Tom Brady, but let's just take that. Let's take those last 4 years as a whole. But why do you think Nick Saban? Because people talked about how the NIL and that was part of the reason why he wanted to get out of college. I don't believe that. I just think he got burned out. I mean, 17 years, what more has he got to prove? And I'm sure the NIL did have something to do with it in the transfer portal.
I think it does.
I think we'd be naive to say it wouldn't, right? I mean, it's got to be
exhausting
after the year. You're saying, okay, not only are you recruiting new guys, but you're recruiting to keep guys on your team now, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think Saban was able to adapt, even albeit shortly, in the 4 or 5 years of the transfer portal of that and dealing with so many different assistants and what have you coming and going versus what Belichick was able to do post Brady?
Ooh, because I think, I mean, I think Saban was probably because Saban was the bigger star in Alabama, right? Saban's a bigger star. He's the brand.
Well, you could argue he's the big. I mean, he's college football.
He's college football's brand, but he was Alabama football. Like, as much as Belichick wants to be considered Patriot football, and he does. Trust me, he thought he owned the team. He acted like he owned the team. It was Brady. Guys wanted to go play with Brady. Guys took less money to play with Brady. Guys put up with more bullshit and took Bill's crap because of Brady, not because of Bill.
Yeah.
And it was so when Tom left, the whole ecosystem came crashing down. It was like nobody wants to play with you, Bill. They want to play with Brady first. And if you're the coach, fine, that's great too. But he doesn't treat his players good. He doesn't pay them good. Like, what? You don't want to stay there and work there unless you're going to win. And the only chance you had to win consistently, was when Brady was there. So, see, the thing was, like Saban, the quarterbacks, they come and they go. You have average quarterbacks, but you have dominating defenses. And Saban's the star there. And so that's why his light, which was going to shine brighter longer, is because Saban and head coaches in college are more important to their teams than head coaches in the NFL. And it's not even close because they're salesmen. They set the tone. They're the brand. They're the reason moms and dads send their kids there. Is because this guy's going to do right by my kid. None of that shit is what happens in the NFL. So
NFL, you don't care.
They don't care, right? And so that's why Bill wasn't able to sustain it as long as Saban was at college, because college kids are going to do more. The player empowerment And that's part of what's why Saban's leaving is because player empowerment is never bigger. That's what I think is Bill's having a hard time with Belichick here is players getting stronger voices, asking for more money. Like if they're not happy with their playing time, they go on Twitter. They're bigger headaches. They're harder to, control. The pros guys are. And now college players are starting to be that way because of the ISL money and that kind of thing. And so Saban, I think, is getting out largely because he doesn't have control anymore. And that's what both Belichick and Nick Saban are obsessed with, control. Yeah. They want control over everything and everybody. They are power control freaks, man.
So Saban being able to do it on his own accord, obviously he had, and look, that guy's got a business portfolio off the chain. What does he got? Like a Ferrari dealership. He's got a Benz dealership. So, and he can do TV for days. What's Belichick going to do?
Yeah, I mean that's what everyone's trying to figure out. I mean it's unbelievable, Freddie.
Can you see him doing TV?
I think he would be horrendous on TV. I really do because I do, and people think he'd be great because I don't think he wouldn't tell you what he really thinks. Is my opinion.
Well, right? Everybody points to that NFL 100 that he did, right? Where he was, but that was him being able to break down shit that had already happened, though.
Right, and that's where that is his comfort zone. Is talking about the history of the game. He's got to criticize and be critical of his his contemporaries.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it. He has opinions on everybody. Trust me, Fred. But he just doesn't want you to know what they are, right? And so he doesn't want to tell you anything. He's always seen information as power. And whenever he gives up his opinion on something, in his mind, that's giving you power. Now you know something about me that you didn't know, and that there's a disadvantage. I think he'll suck at it, and I think he'll be miserable. And I think he thinks it's beneath him. I do. I think he's kind of in this like tailspin right now. I think he's like, holy crap, nobody wants me. You got Adam Schefter, who we all think carries water for Belichick anyway, putting out these reports recently about him going to Kansas City, about Andy Reid stepping down from Kansas City and Bill Belichick taking over. And it's like, why is it Adam Schefter all of a sudden throwing out there? Is that, and there's a lot of people here that think that's Bill trying to drum up a market for himself and, to have people think that he's still desirable and employable when in fact nobody wants him right now. And so I think Bill is shocked that he didn't get the Atlanta job. We all feel like he thought he had it in the bag. I mean, he was the only candidate that met with the owner one-on-one, and he was the first meeting with the owner, and he got a second meeting with the owner, and he couldn't close the deal. And I think he thought
that was Lombardi said. You heard what Mike Lombardi said.
What did he say?
He said it was Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot. They said Arthur Blank was sold on Bill Belichick. No. He wanted Bill Belichick. And then Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot said no, because once they heard what Bill was going to do, he didn't need them.
Right. And so,
So it's self-preservation at that point. It's like, okay, either he comes on board, we lose our jobs, or he doesn't come and we stay.
And that's my feeling is that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I mean, how appealing is that to sell to a fan base? You're going to get, you're going to gut the entire front office, everything, and that's a tough sell based on what's been happening in the last 4 years. He's basically you're getting Belichick as a rental. You're getting him for 2 or 3 years, Freddie.
How long does he really have?
What do you think he's? And you're absolutely right. What you're saying about Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot is probably what happened. Is like these guys were like, man, he wants to get rid of all of us. And are you sure that's the right thing? And so, but Bill, that's an example of probably Bill overplaying his hand, Fred. Like, Bill had to go in there and be like, boom, this is all. Like, part of me thinks he overplayed his hand. Like, if he just, hey, I don't need control over the personnel, but I just want to bring all my coaches and, and I'll have final say, but I don't have to draft the guys or bring the guys in. He might have gotten the job, but he went in there and was like, I want this. I want the power. I want all. And it's like, dude, you're 72 years old. and you haven't made the playoffs in 3 of your last 4 years. In fact, the worst year you've ever had in the history of your coaching profession was this past year. You ruined you ruined a quarterback. You let go of the greatest quarterback. Why should we hire you?
I mean, and you know what? I could, again, and one of the guys I do a show with, my boy Adam, Chris Hodge from Taking Vegas, and I mean, look, his record is 84 and 103 without Tom Brady. Now, I would make the argument that what it shows to me, taken away from his ignorant decisions from a coaching staff standpoint, I mean, can we at least agree that he is a good head coach, right? Like from a coaching X's and O's standpoint, Bill Belichick is one of the all-time greats.
Oh, he's definitely one of the all-time greats. I don't think he's a good coach today. The game is totally different when I was playing with him, and even when they won their Super Bowl in 2018, in which they won the game 12-3, literally 12-3. The NFL is not fullback and run the ball like they did, and when they won the Super Bowl in 2018, like the game has changed. Fred, his philosophy on offense is outdated. And how he in-game manages is outdated. He puts too much emphasis on special teams and not enough on the importance of the quarterback position. So, like, he was the greatest coach. Right now, he's a different coach. And the game has passed him by in a lot of ways. And so, for me to say he's a great coach now, no, I can't say that.
Man, is it safe to say, like, is Bill Belichick kind of like the Sears of NFL coaching? Like at one time, they were is he like the Blockbuster Video of coaching?
That's it. That's the perfect way to put it. He's the Blockbuster. Well, I mean, when you could rent those videos for like a week, and then you could, you put them in the little slot, like that was the best, wasn't it? You go and you walk and you can just look
Friday night, new releases just strewn across the wall.
Right. It was the best. It was the best. But now, not so much, right? I mean, Netflix came around, and all of a sudden it's DVDs, and so the game is just he's a blockbuster video in a digital world, brother, and he can still do some things. Really, he can still put a good defensive game plan against like the mediocre to okay quarterbacks in the league. He can still make those guys pee down their legs, but he can't stop Mahomes or Josh Allen like he used to, and he can't really put an offense out there that is modern or scores enough points to kind of overcome really what's just a lack of talent across the board.
He and I've been saying this for a while now, and it's starting to look, I'm not saying I'm doing a victory lap, but, him and Greg Popovich are eerily similar to me because, look, ever since I'm old guy, and I get it. You got to have players, but the Spurs have been garbage for about 4 or 5 years. They're really not that good this year, and I get it. They got Wembanyama, but it's like, like you said, Ted, it's just there's just something about these older coaches, and look, Andy Reid is now. I think he said it on. I don't know what show he was on. He's the last one now. With Belichick being gone and Carroll being gone, he's the last of that generation.
He's the last of the Mohicans, man. And and Pete and Andy is so. He's like Pete. I think part of why they've been so successful is just their youthful spirits. I really think they are just they're just guys. They're coaches that players want to play for. But what was the other point I wanted to make? Dang it! Oh, I forgot. What was the point? Shoot. Well, hell, I forgot what it was. I forgot what it was. Andy Reid is part of what makes Andy work though is he trusts his players, he empowers his players, and I think that's important today in today's NFL. And Bill hasn't done that. I don't think he runs such a tight operation. What Kelsey gets away with and Mahomes with all the stuff that they do social media wise, Bill never put up with that kind of stuff. Yeah. And he still doesn't like that. And it's like, it's a different athlete, man. It's a different athlete.
Well, and the thing about Andy Reid too, and let's call it what it is. And I said this when Mahomes came to Kansas City, it was like, look, and I guess let me ask you this real quick. Mahomes notwithstanding, right? I mean, what's been impressive about him is that, or is it just that with Mahomes, he's able to do everything in the playbook. Like Andy Reid's always had this expansive playbook, right? But I mean, let's call it what it is. Donovan McNabb was only going to get so far because we forget, like, what did the Eagles go to? 4, 5 straight NFC Championship games back in the mid 2000s?
Yeah, with McNabb. Yeah.
So this is like 11 years straight in either the AFC or the NFC where Andy Reid, and I mean, let's call it what it is. He only went to 1 Super Bowl back when he was with the Eagles. And you guys beat him in 04, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was my last game as a pro. The 04, 05, the 05 Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yep.
And you got your boy McNabb yakking on the field.
Throwing up on that final drive, bro. I know, don't let him tell you otherwise. He'll try and tell you otherwise, but don't let him tell you.
What's he going to say it was?
Hey, you know what's funny is that what was Andy Reid's biggest bugaboo in his coaching back then was his clock management. And it's amazing that once you get like a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, how that goes away.
When was the last time we've bitched at Andy Reid for clock management?
I don't know, 6 years ago. I don't know, about 6 years ago.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, I mean, and that right, and that the same thing with Belichick. I mean, once Brady left, it was all of a sudden some of the clock management was terrible by Belichick. It's amazing. I mean, that's kind of the genius in some of these, in the greats, and it was with Tom. Because people always used to ask me, they go, "Well, when did you know Tom Brady was great?" And I'm like, he didn't like physically jump out at you, but what he was far superior than any quarterback I'd ever seen, and better than Drew Bledsoe all the time was in the 2-minute operation. He moved the ball down the field so efficiently and with so much success in practice that he was think about how important just that one situation really highlights a quarterback's football acumen.
That's net cutting time, right?
It's performing under pressure, seeing the field fast, making fast decisions. All this information's coming in at once, and you're trying to be the conductor in this one situation that is really a difficult one to navigate. And Brady did it like it was nothing. Like he did it and it was sleep. And that's to me, that was the first thing signaled to me that he was going to be great, was just how cool and cool he was in that situation in the 2-minute drill.
What are your thoughts on Harbaugh going to Chargers? Can Harbaugh finally get the Chargers? Because look, as much as we like to lambast the Lions, as much as we like to lambast the Jets, and rightfully so, they've been jokes for a long time. Chargers, I mean, let's call it what it is. The Chargers are stepchildren in their own city.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Like they're not even they're stepchildren in their own stadium, for crying out loud, right? Like they got to use silent counts at home. That's how bad it is. Can Jim Harbaugh finally get the Chargers to be the team that's always the sheep pick to win the AFC West and make a run? Can Harbaugh finally get him across the finish line?
Man, I'd like to think he can. I mean, he's already been in the NFL game and shown he could do it.
He knows the deal, right?
I mean, he got those 49ers teams to a Super Bowl. He was, I don't know. I mean, I thought both Alex Smith played at a high level. He was a better quarterback there than when he was at Kansas City. I mean, where was Alex Smith? Washington? Was he at Washington?
No. So he was with San Francisco, and then that's when Kaepernick came in, and then Andy Reid came.
Right. I'm sorry. Alex Smith is what he was.
But that was the start of his ascent, right?
Right. So Alex Smith was playing really well when he got benched for Kaepernick, because, and that was a gutsy call for Jim Harbaugh to make.
That was
ballsy.
Pay off.
And here's the thing, like, I don't know. I think John Harbaugh can relate to the players. I think the players will respond to him. I think. Yeah. I think he understands today's athlete. I don't think he's going to be a hard-O. He'll be kind of a jackass, but his players will love it. He'll be highly competitive for his team. You saw how he can sometimes act.
He's a goon.
That could play well in today's locker room in the NFL.
Oh, I mean, he said he was starstruck by Justin Herbert. Okay, I mean, nobody's starstruck by Justin Herbert. Okay, let's get that straight right now. It's still the Chiefs' division to win, so let's not get carried away too much. One other thing, real quick. Let's put a little respect on your boy Nick Caserio's name, by the way. Yeah. All right. I mean, and look, I was a little over the top. I thought he should have drafted Sauce Gardner. Taking a guy that had a little bit of an injury history in Derek Stingley. But tell you what, unfortunate rookie year with the injury. Derek Stingley was pretty damn good this year, right? Derek Stingley, I think he missed, 5 or 6 games or whatever it was, but then he came back and was a monster that second half of the season. D'Amico looked good. You're probably going to get Bobby Sloak for probably 1 more year, so you better enjoy him while you got him. Yeah. A, your thoughts on C.J. Stroud, and B, is that the challenge when you're a guy like a D'Amico? I mean, look, we know he's going to be there for a while. We know that defense is going to run, but do you worry about having a different voice for C.J. Stroud every 3 or 4 years? Because that's what happens when you have a good quarterback.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So, and that's what sucks. I mean, that's what the 49ers, the Green Bay Packers got to worry about all the time is they're losing their coordinators and still keeping. I mean, what's different about them is that the head coach is kind of the pseudo offensive coordinator. So they can lose their coordinators and passing game coordinators because their head coaches are theoretically the offensive coordinators. So, D'Amico is not an offensive guy. So losing a Bobby Sloak would be really, I mean, that would be a tough thing to overcome, clearly. But just what's going on there, I mean, obviously what a difference a year makes. I mean, all of Caserio's, his entire future came down to getting the head coach and the quarterback right, and he nailed both of them. Thank you, Carolina. So he knocked both of them out of the park, right? I mean, I think D'Amico's been phenomenal. And it's amazing, we're using the Texans model up here in New England to talk about what's going on up here. As there's a lot of people here, and I think rightfully so, look at what the way the Patriots are right now, and you think, this is going to be a long rebuild. And then you go, well, what about the Texans? Look at what they were able to do in 1 year with a new head coach and a new quarterback. Okay, but what I think helped D'Amico is obviously he was a defensive coordinator in San Francisco. Gerard Mayo was never officially the defensive coordinator here in New England, right? So this is a big jump for him.
He's always been a linebackers coach, right?
Always a linebackers coach, but his interpersonal skills are supposed to be off the chart, and people will say he's got defensive coordinator type characteristics. That he leads the meetings and that kind of thing, and so he's the one that the players go to. He just doesn't call the plays during the game. But the point what I'm making is that Gerard Mayo's, I think, hire would make it more palatable for me and others if we knew he had a Bobby Sloak with him, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing. D'Amico brought an offensive line with him with the system that he wanted, and that's what made it more seamless. But I mean, I'll say Nick. I think Nick is going to find that he's going to love being the man in charge down in Houston because they love their football team down there, and now that they're relevant, it is like crazy, I'm sure. And Nick Caserio is the toast of the town, right? I mean, when it looked probably pretty bleak for him. Considering what had been taking place the last few years. But now, obviously, my guess is he pretty much walks on water there in Houston.
No, he does. But but as you know, though, Texans fans, it was a rough. Look, they were snake bit by the Bill O'Brien era. The Deshaun Watson ending couldn't have been any more catastrophic, right? And then you bring in David Culley, who, for all intents and purposes, was just a nice guy. Okay. Yeah. But there were times when you would listen to him talk after a post game and you just thought to yourself, where did he come from? Yeah. It was just crazy. I mean, David Culley, God bless him. I talked to one of the Texan security guys. David Culley, when he was let go, called every single member of the Texan security and support staff to thank them and tell them, hey, I'm no longer the head coach, but I want to thank you for everything you did for the Houston Texans. But he got $17 million to go away. It's like, oh, you only got hired for a year. Okay, give me $17 million to, look confused on the sideline for a season.
And that was a Caserio hire, right? I mean, that hire, that made no sense. I mean, no sense.
He went back-to-back Culley and Lovie Smith. And you're thinking to yourself, like, bro, what are you doing? Now, the Lovie Smith thing, he only hired him, and he actually got bailed out by it. The rumor was he was going to hire Josh McCown.
Okay.
And the Brian Fuentes thing was Brian Flores thing was going on. And then he threw the Texans in that lawsuit. So they were like, better not hire a white guy that's never been proven before. So there you go. Speaking of Gerard Mayo, then we'll get to we'll segue to and then we'll wrap up with Chiefs and Super Bowl talk. But real quick, so basically he hasn't named an offensive coordinator yet, Gerard Mayo.
No, they've had probably close to a dozen interviews now, Fred, which is concerning.
That's concerning. I mean, why do you need that many guys to come in?
It's a lot of guys, and here's the thing, we anticipate that Gerard doesn't have a vision for the offense. Like, he doesn't know what style of offense yet he wants to run. Does he want to run the old Patriot offense under Tom Brady that was a game plan that can morph into different things, or do you want to be the Kyle Shanahan? So, and maybe he's trying to figure that out through the candidates that he's interviewing. But the word is that this job, and why would it be, is not an attractive job for potential offensive coordinators. A big part of it, I think, is because Gerard Mayo's track record is as a coach is really unproven and uncharted. Like, a lot of people don't know what you're going to work for a guy that you don't know anything about. He wasn't the defensive coordinator. He wasn't highlighted much whenever you'd watch Patriots games. You don't know much about him. And so why should I go work for this guy? A lot of people are worried about maybe the power structure, that the Crafts are meddling, that they're too involved. And the Patriots historically have never paid their coaches. They are the lowest spending team in the NFL, cash spending in the last 7 years. No one's spent less on their players than the New England Patriots, and they have a small staff of scouts and front office people, so they don't pay them. So a lot of people, there's a lot of kind of things out there that are working against the Patriots for these up and coming offensive guys that I think the word is they haven't been impressed with what they've seen and heard from the Patriots during these interview processes.
So let me ask you this, just to kind of piggyback on something you said. So even though Bill, with his shortcomings in the front office and what have you, do you think they're seeing a little bit of, while players wanted to go play for Tom Brady, maybe they had better coaches available because coaches wanted to coach for Belichick? Because even though maybe you knew, all right, yeah, the Patriots don't pay shit, but I'm going to get a world-class football education for a season or two.
Yeah, it's totally true. I think Belichick attracted higher quality coaches back when during the heyday. Who wouldn't want to go? I mean, books were being written on how the Patriots coached, on how the Patriots thought, how they operated their whole operation. Like, everybody, who wouldn't want to get up close to that? And then it was hard for Bill to retain guys. I mean, it kind of became, I think he got more and more stuck in his ways. I think people behind the scenes saw a relationship fraying between Bill and Tom. It was a lot of time, they're cheap. They do not give titles to coaches. A lot of coaches don't get elevated, and they are, and so there's no upward mobility here. And so a lot of them left, and there was a lot of really good coaches that were here that left. And Bill isolated himself more, or I don't know if isolated him is, but he just didn't make himself as available to young coaches as maybe he used to. And so I think the shine of working for Bill Belichick really started to go away. I mean, again, the nepotism, hiring his sons. He hired a lacrosse player to coach his cornerbacks. He taught a lacrosse player. He loves lacrosse, right? He got this lacrosse player to coach for him. I mean, I don't know. You had Matt Patricia coach offensive line when he hasn't coached it, really ever. As well, not only I want you to be the offensive coordinator, but you're also coaching the most difficult position in football, the offensive line, which you've never coached either. Like, And the reason that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge were on the staff, do you know why? Because they were getting paid salaries from their other jobs, from the Detroit Lions, from when Patricia was there, and from the New York Giants, from when Joe Judge was there. And so they get these coaches for free. And you know why, Fred? Because who had the highest salary of any coach in the NFL? Do you know who that was?
Well, it's got to be Belichick.
Belichick. And the report is that Mike Florio came out with a couple years ago was it in the range of up to $25 million. And so Belichick gets a budget on who he gets to spend this money on. He puts most of it in his salary.
I was going to say he's pocketed most of it. Hell, he's running a football coaching Ponzi scheme, for crying out loud. Dear God.
If I'm telling you, so there's a lot of things you go, why isn't any team beating down the door to have Bill Belichick as the coach? If you've been paying close attention and covered the team like I have, you would have seen all this.
Are you surprised that we haven't seen, and maybe there's more, I after hearing all this, talking to you now, I feel like we're a month or two away from, or maybe a Super Bowl week article away from a big athletic piece or Mass Live or somebody writing about, former coaches and stuff like that, talking about this sort of stuff. I mean, I feel like it's coming sooner rather than later.
My guess is that stuff, now that Bill's not the head coach anymore, my guess is you'll start hearing more and more of that. And so be ready. I mean, you reap what you sow. And a lot of, Bill Scott yields a lot of power when he's still in the league coaching.
Yeah.
And so people that have had issues with Bill were afraid to say something in the past might not be afraid to say it now. And so we'll see, but it's amazing what's happened here to his perception and his legacy, at least locally, Freddie. It's been pretty remarkable.
All right, the two teams that are still standing, and there's no question about their front office leadership and the connection their coaches have with the front office and or ownership, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. We'll talk about the 49ers here in just a second, but look, you played with Tom Brady. We've seen how, look, he's the GOAT for a reason. And this conversation about Pat Mahomes being the GOAT, let's calm down. Is he the best quarterback right now? 100%. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Mad Dog came out last week and said he's the best quarterback he's ever seen at any moment. Look, whatever you want to call it, we can argue that, yes, is Mahomes a different style of quarterback than Tom Brady? Yes, but for my money, 6-1, half a dozen to another. Right? Yeah. At this stage. What is it about Pat Mahomes that when you watch him, having played the game, been a part of football for almost your entire life, where does Mahomes rank for you?
Yeah, Tom's the best, and then I put Patrick Mahomes right underneath it because I think he can, and I think part of it is just his ability to make plays under any any situation. So with a clean pocket, with a broken down pocket, his playmaking ability is unmatched. His accuracy is incredible. His arm strength is otherworldly. But it's really his playmaking ability when things aren't perfect. That was what made Tom so impressive is his precision. And everything technically where everything had to be. And, off script, that was not his strength. And today's game, it's sometimes, it doesn't go how you scripted it. And so you need somebody who can ad lib. And Patrick Mahomes is in another class when it comes to making plays off schedule, ad libbing. And so I just think the thing that makes Tom, you go, okay, this debate it's interesting. If you kind of look at Tom's last 6 years versus the first 6 years of Mahomes, a lot of people think that's a more fair comparison because the last 6 years of the NFL for Tom Brady is closer to what Patrick Mahomes is playing out, right? And so the first three Super Bowls that I was on with Tom, it was a different game. It was more, it was just more of a ball control type game, and so it's hard to kind of compare the two. But I would say this: the clear and obvious difference, and really the playmaking for Mahomes is on a different level because of his ability to run. Brady not going to run for first downs or not going to create with his feet, where Mahomes can, and so there's a more dynamic piece to his play than there is Tom. But that doesn't mean at the end of the day he's a better all-around football player. That still do be determined. But he's on pace to be as good, if not better, than Tom Brady right now.
Pat Mahomes notwithstanding, what impressed you the most over this 3-game run to the Super Bowl when, look, you and I texted, Christmas Day, as a matter of fact. I think it was one of those weeks where we talked about, this team doesn't have any resemblance of a Super Bowl team. And here we are now 2 weeks away from it. What switched and what was it about? What did you see over these last 3 weeks out of this Chiefs team?
Dude, here's the thing. What we saw, honestly, was like what we saw is what, honestly, like the last 3 games for him, to me, Freddie, they put him in a different level of discussion. I think Patrick Mahomes, because he's done it. This is the team with the least amount of talent on offense that he's ever had.
Not even close.
So, right. And that's kind of the marker for greatness, is doing more with less. And, Travis Kelce is all otherworly. Let's face it. He didn't have a touchdown catch for the last 7 weeks of the season. Right. I mean, all of a sudden,
and he's 34 years old.
And when the lights are the brightest, all of a sudden, just when you think you can count them out, they reach down in there and they just rip your heart out. Like and that's what's made him, I think, taking Mahomes to another level is who he's done it with, the players he's done it with. It's just not the same quality of team that he's had around him, at least on the offense. And so for him to overcome, he's had to play flawless. As dumb as Buffalo was at the end of the game, he had to play a perfect game. Hell, Buffalo had the ball for freaking ever and just keep away. And so Mahomes, when he got the ball, which wasn't a hell of a lot, he had to make magic, and he did every time. He answered in on the road. Okay, can he go on the road and win? Dude, Buffalo. I played in Buffalo. That's a hard place to play. And for him to beat that team when it was hype in that place, I mean, Orchard Park, man, they're crazy. And for him to go win that game with the offensive tools that he had, and then to go – so I'm always factoring in exterior elements. To go fly to Buffalo, play in that environment, fly all the way back to Kansas City, go from Kansas City, fly all the way to Baltimore, and play in Baltimore that's never hosted an AFC Championship game, and then do it in Baltimore, like shut them down, it puts Mahomes in a class. It raised him to another class. Now, if he goes and wins this Super Bowl, oh shit, right? I mean, and that's the problem. You got guys like Nick Wright already saying he's better than Tom Brady. What made Tom Brady so great is his longevity. How long he's got 14 more years, Patrick Mahomes does. And let's judge it. I mean, we're going to judge it now, but to say he's better than Tom Brady, I think is ridiculous. He has the ability, and he's on pace to be better. But to say right now definitively he's better than Tom Brady, no, we got to see this thing for another. Who's going to be the next Kelce that he's going to develop? Because Brady had weapons in the first part that he developed, and then he developed weapons in the second part. So what's the second act going to be? He's got to get his next Kelce, his next, Wes Welker, his next Julian Edelman, his next Troy Brown, like Tom Brady did. He did it over a 20-year span, and I got to see Mahomes do it too.
No, you absolutely do. And, I got into a Twitter fight with a guy today because I was, the Chiefs went and drafted a DN from K-State with that 31st pick or 32nd pick this past draft. And you had Sam Laporta, who went 3 picks later. And you had a tight end loaded draft this year, right? You had the Meyer kid that ended up with Vegas, Kincaid in Buffalo. Great. Right? So you had, and these are 3 guys that are going to be legit tight ends in the National Football League. And I mean, and look, I'm not taking. I mean, look, it's easy. We can take our foot off of Veach's throat right now because we're in the Super Bowl. But 6 weeks ago, when MVS was dropping passes, and you're saying to yourself, how did you not stock this wide receiver room or at least draft somebody, for crying out loud? But you had a tight end group in the draft, and you've got an aging tight end with a tight end group, a room that sucks for the most part. So anyway, I'm going on a rant here.
But can I make one point about the Chiefs, Freddie? That it's amazing to me that a lot of people don't talk about. And then I got to go to bed because I got a 5:30 workout.
Absolutely.
I'm working out at 5:30 in the morning.
I love it. I love it.
One thing that the Kansas City is that people, I don't think people are talking about enough is their inability to score points in the second half of games.
That's huge.
If you look at Kansas City's season long, they are top 3 in scoring in first half of games, and they are bottom 3 of scoring in the second half. They are the lowest scoring team in the fourth quarter of any team all season long. They didn't score any points in the second half of this game last week. They had 5 punts and then a kneel down in the second half. So as amazing as the Chiefs are, and they are, it's like, this thing where you go, okay, are they going to – their offense really stalls out in the second half of games. And so I think you saw such an emphasis by them to get on Baltimore early in that game, and bring it to them, because this data would suggest that they don't have the same firepower in the second half, which is amazing to me. But obviously the data doesn't lie. So that's something that they got to be careful of, man.
No, I'm worried about it. And of course, they'd have gone up 21-7 if they wouldn't have screwed the pooch on that 4th and 1. All right. Less than 2 weeks away. You know who I'm going with. I'll give my score next week. Chiefs win if, 49ers win if.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, I would say if the Chiefs win, if honestly, if they can shut down, I'll say this. Can the Chiefs shut down Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey?
McCaffrey, yeah.
And it's weird. It's almost like I think the Chiefs can win if they just shut down McCaffrey.
Those two, yeah.
I agree.
He's
the straw that stirs the drink. He's what gets their play action going. If you can hammer Christian McCaffrey, I think it really kind of makes that offense really kind of stuck in neutral. And I think that's you would think, well, stopping the running back? No. But the running game, the passing game is predicated off of the running game. And once the 49ers get comfortable running the ball, oh boy, here comes the play action, and that's when they do damage. Stop McCaffrey, and you can stop the 49ers.
Because isn't that the exact same formula you guys used when you beat the Rams?
Yeah. Same thing. It's the same idea because it's exactly right. When you had Marshall Faulk, he's responsible for 50-60% of the offensive production. Is the ball's touching him 50 to 60% of the time. So what we're gonna make sure he gets hammered, and even when he's away from the ball, we're gonna hit him. We're gonna make life miserable on Marshall Faulk, and that is gonna really be a huge knockdown punch to a high flying offense that the Rams have. It's the same thing with McCaffrey. Take out McCaffrey, and you've really taken away a huge part of their offense. And so that's to me that's the key for them. And I would say if for the 49ers, for the 49ers, I mean, is it as simple as, I want to say take away Kelsey? I mean, Kelsey's been on fire. He's killed the Buffalo Bills. He's killed the Baltimore Ravens. He's kind of what's, lighting up the offense. Is they feed off of his energy.
Yeah.
Can you stop Travis Kelsey? Can he not have any touchdowns? Can he have, 4 catches for 50 yards? And then you
win if that happens. You win if Kelsey's held to less than 6 catches or fewer than 6 catches,
no touchdowns. Then you
49ers going away.
Yep.
Right? Because you're gonna have to make somebody else beat you, and I'm not convinced. And God bless Rashee Rice, and God bless MVS and Pacheco. But maybe you say to yourself, all right, if we can get those guys going, and again, the wild card in the room, you still got 15.
Yep.
You still got 15. All right, last thing, Teddy J. Workout tomorrow includes what, and what are we doing these days?
So this is what we're doing, Freddie. So we are we're working only 5 days a week, and so I used to work out 6 days, and I do 3 days a week. I do still lifting. I split it up in push and pull. So I have my push day.
I like it.
I do all my pushing on one day. So I do 2 bench exercises, and I'll do 2 quad exercises. And then I always do core. My lower back and my stomach always do core, and then a light conditioning on push day. On pool day is the opposite. It's all back and hamstrings, right? Maybe with a different type of light conditioning, and then the third day of lifting, I do a hybrid of both. Okay. I lift 3 days a week. I used to lift 5 days a week. Now I lift 3. And the other 2 workout days, this is what I do. So I do boxing, a boxing class all the time. I love boxing. All right. And it's one of the best things I've ever picked up later in life is my boxing workouts are probably my favorite. And if I'm not doing a boxing workout, I do some kind of conditioning workout where we do circuit training. So we do ropes, we flip tires, we do ground-based jammer. We do stuff that gets your heart rate up, where you're using, you're building muscle, but it's more of a endurance and kind of heart workout. And I like to do those kind of workouts twice a week, and then work out with the weight 3 times a week. And that's what's working for me these days, brother.
260, looking mean, look like he's got a few snaps left in him, okay? I mean, let's call it what it is. At least a drive. I feel confident. 97 at nose tackle, 52, all right? Because didn't we say, look, the only middle linebacker that we could figure out that was better than 52 was JC, okay? JC, who I believe, if we said back in the day, wore 52 as middle linebacker.
Right. JC would have wore 52. If he was a middle linebacker, he would have wore 52, man.
That's right. Teddy J, my man, it's great to catch up with you as always. Where can the folks find you if they want to listen to you? I know, are you still at 98.5? So
I do a lot of fill-in work on 98.5, the Sports Hub. If you want to hear me, I'll be on this Sunday with Joe Murray from 10 Eastern to 2 Eastern, so 10 a.m. to 2.
4-hour shift.
Yep. And then then it's hit or miss from there. I do a lot of TV work on NBC Sports Boston in the fall. I do all the post-game shows and another great show called The Breakdown every Monday night during the season, which is a lot of fun with Phil Perry. And so I really enjoy kind of moving over to do more TV stuff, Freddie, than the radio. I do a radio and the Sports Hub is a monster here. I mean, they are it, man, and they are huge. And so it's I love being associated with a winner like them. And then I'm on Twitter. Very rarely do I tweet, but if you want to find me at Teddy J Radio, that's where you will find me.
That's it. At Teddy J Radio, give him a follow. You will be glad that you did. All right, I got my boy Henry Thomas. We'll be on tomorrow at 6:00 Central, so stay tuned for that.
Hey, what's up, my boy HT, man? That's my guy.
Still doing it. He got nominated for the Hall of Fame this past year. And the funny part was he had no idea until he was at a bowling tournament. And some guy said, hey, did you see this? And the LSU Alumni Magazine wrote an article about him getting nominated, didn't call him, and neither did the NFL.
Oh, geez. Way to go, NFL.
Hey, he's got the nomination. Go figure. So,
hey, what nose tackles had more sacks than that guy?
Currently none.
Yeah. Only Henry.
Well, let me ask you this: Where do you put Aaron Donald?
Well, okay, Aaron Donald, and then you put Warren Sapp. So yeah, those guys. But Henry's got sack numbers that are pretty impressive.
Yeah, he does, and then and people forget he had back-to-back. They made a big deal about that guy from Carolina getting 100 tackles. Henry had back-to-back seasons of 100 tackles.
That's right.
So different beats.
Big Henry Thomas fans.
Different beats. So all right, Teddy J. Great stuff as always, my friend. Everybody, appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow night. And until then, good night. God bless.